So, in the upcoming patch, Behavior has decided to add breakable walls as a new mechanic into the game. And honestly, I want to talk to you guys about this mechanic a little bit more and give you my thoughts on them, since it's pretty game changing, or at least has the potential to be quite game changing if it's implemented right. And at the moment, I don't think they're quite good enough as they are. So, hi guys, it's Scorpionz, and I'm going to tell you how I feel about them. What's good, what's bad, where they could be, where they should be, and what I would like to see changed about them in the future. So to explain this mechanic very briefly, they effectively work as pallets that are already thrown down that cannot be interacted with a survivor. They look like pallets, etc. It's a wall with a little blue and red thing, and you can walk up to it and press spacebar like you can with a pallet, and the killer will break the wall, takes the same amount of time as a pallet, and it opens up a new doorway into an area. And these are typically found right now in the main building and maze tiles and shack, etc. like that. So to start off with what I like about them, I like that it's a new kind of decision making that you have to make as a killer. And you're going to hear me say that phrase a lot in this video. I like the decisions that you can have with walls. I like the mind game you could potentially fake breaking a wall, etc. I like the thinking and the thought process behind them of when's the best time to break this wall to gain the advantage in the area. When do I not break it? Should I break this? Should I not break it? I love the thought process behind playing with the walls as a killer in the game, and I like that this kind of new depth has been added to the game. And I like that it also has the potential to fix a lot of problem map areas where you could potentially place a breakable wall next to a really strong window, and you could potentially just fix it that way, like break the wall, make a doorway next to the window, and it gives you an extra thing to do as killer. Like, I've actually already had it where I'm in chase with somebody and I fake breaking a pallet and break the wall next to them instead and totally catch them off guard and down them through this, and it just felt amazing to be able to do this now in the new map. But like I said, at the moment I kind of want to talk to you about the things I don't like about them and the things that I feel like they could do better with the walls. So I guess my biggest problem, or the problem I have with the walls, is where they're placed, honestly. The biggest problem I have is that they exist in tiles, such as, well, maze tiles in general, and the shack. I do not think that these walls need to exist in these tiles because it ruins the mind game in them, honestly, because I don't see how you can balance this tile to have a breakable wall and still be safe enough to play, or unsafe enough to play, without it being there. So I had a lot of examples of maze tiles when I was killer that were so ridiculously safe that you had to break the wall. Like, before you even started chasing people, I felt like as killer, I often had to do like a wall breaking sweep before I could even start chasing people. And stuff like the shack having a wall, like, what the hell's that about, for example? Again, the shack is the same size as it is in live in other buildings, but there's a wall there now, so you can just completely remove the shack as a tile, pretty much the mind game with, and the shack is one of my favorite tiles in the game to mind game as a killer, and being able to just break the wall now feels kind of bad. Feels kind of the easy way, you know, like rather than learning how to deal with shack as a killer, you can just break the wall now, for example. And the other example is maze tiles. Like I said already, the maze tiles are either ridiculously safe, so you have to break the wall, or they're already playable with the wall still there, so you break them, you break the wall, and the tile is still, it's now just really, 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 really unsafe because the wall is gone, and now the loop is even shorter, and it's even harder for the survivor to do anything. For me, it's kind of missed its mark for me in maze tiles. So the maze tile is either too safe with a wall there, and then you break the wall and it becomes too unsafe. It kind of misses the middle mark, the little sweet spot that you have of a tile being not too safe and not too unsafe that we know of and love in maze tiles. It feels like it's kind of gone a bit too far. And so the other thing I don't like about walls in the new map is, apart from the safeness of tiles, etc., of what they do to it, the thing I don't like the most about walls, I don't like the lack of decision making for the killer as they stand right now. There's no decision making as a killer. You always benefit as a killer by breaking a wall. Always. You never don't benefit from it. You always do. The play is always break the wall. Like, if you're not in a chase and you're walking around, you see a wall, break it. You're gonna benefit from it eventually. There's no thought process behind it. It just wastes more time for you just going around breaking walls because you know you're gonna benefit from it, so you might as well. I want the walls to be a mechanic that well, obviously you can have some walls that you don't need to think about. Like, you have some walls you can just break. So a good one is the one in the upstairs in the building. You can just break it and it doesn't matter. It's fine. I want some walls to have thought process behind them. The best example I can think of as to what I want with the walls is on the preschool map. In the preschool rework, they added a new doorway in the main building at the top of the stairs. This doorway made the infinite window, the fence window, 1,000 times worse. So that infinite window became a real problem with the map. A real problem. And I would love that doorway to be a destroyable wall, for example. That doorway has then suddenly got a lot of thought process behind it as killer. Do you break it as killer or do you not break it? If you break it, you give survivors a free window. You give them a stronger window that they can loop. But if you don't break it, then you don't have access to downstairs very easily. It's harder to pressure the gen. It's harder to get to a hook from downstairs. So there's this thought. Do I break it and get to hooks and the gen easier? Or do I leave it and make the tile not as strong? This wall has decisions behind it. You have to think very carefully about what you do with it. It's not just mindlessly break it and gain an advantage. There's a thought process. Sometimes in some games, you should leave it because the survivors are going down away from the building. Some games, you should break it because everyone's going downstairs. This is what I want with the walls. This is what I think the mechanic should be. Some thought process behind it. Obviously, using a BS window as an example is just an example. It could be anything, any thought process like this behind it. Any wall, like any scenario where you have to think about what you're doing. So again, the wall could be on the second story of a building, and breaking it allows you to get downstairs easier, but allows them to have a new balanced landing spot. Just things like that. Just little decisions behind each wall, rather than the walls being inside of a maze tile and you always benefit from breaking it, or in Shack where you always benefit from breaking it. So finally, what would I do to the mechanic? Well, in future maps, I would love to see the maze tiles not having breakable walls. I really don't think this mechanic is right for maze tiles. I like that they're testing things. This is what I like. Props to Behavior for this. I love that they're experimenting with new ideas in maps like this. So they tried it in Hawkins, where they made really unsafe parts in the corridors but decent rooms. Like, they tried it in Hawkins. They're trying it again with this map, new ideas, and I love to see that. And I'd love to see this mechanic, this wall break mechanic, continue on in future maps and future reworks. But I don't want them in maze tiles. I want them in exclusive to the main buildings, and to have most of the walls anyway, to have some thought process behind them as a killer, so it's not just mindlessly break the wall. So that is everything I think of what I think of the mechanic. I love it. I'm really glad it's in the game. I just think it could be a little bit different is all. Anyway, I'm Scorpionz, and take care, guys.